Hello everyone, welcome to another race analysis video with Mo Allen. In this race I am riding the Zwift Racing League round 3 of the 2024 season. This is race 4 in the Open Americas Eastern B Division. This is a team time trial. So to start, we have only 3 riders. We expected 4, but one of us got unexpectedly tied up. So we have 3 riders. We decided we would still use this as a good learning experience, even though you need 4 riders across the line at the end to have it count towards the results. But we decided we would give it a go, so I'm riding with my coach and another rider from the team, watts per kilogram racing team. So we have watt per kilogram targets that we're going to hit. We're all on Discord. The coach is calling out the order and the duration, or rather when we should switch. So I'm starting here in 2nd position. You see me switch here to first person view. I was thinking that I would try it to see if it would help. There's a couple of things that I wanted to improve from the last time we did this TTT, which was, I believe, the first race in this round 3 of the WTRL Zwift Racing League season, namely staying closer on the wheel of the rider in front of me. You see me switch away there because I wasn't quite close enough. So I'm not used to that first person view in terms of what it looks like to be close enough to the rider in front. So I switched away from it, and I'll do some practice with it outside of a race scenario, but it wasn't working for me to switch into it necessarily. So switch back to first person view. I have to say that I think this race went really well. For me, for the team, I think we improved a lot over the first race. Now the difference is I think we have half the riders than we did at the first race. We had, I think, at least 6 to start on the first. And we were all there was mixed categories for that last one. There were, I think, some D's, some C's, and some B's in there. So it was a very different experience than this, where we're all sort of similarly matched. I'm technically in the C category in terms of Zwift racing score, whereas the other 2 riders here are in the B category. But on a flat route with my power, I'm able to keep up on this. So we were evenly matched, so that helped to be more consistent than the first ride. But something that I did from the first ride was in the display at the top left, where it shows the watts and the cadence and the heart rate. Previously, by default, that was showing, I think, the stress points, I believe, or some other metric was there. And I changed that metric to show instead the current watts per kilogram. I assume that's a 3-second average of watts per kilogram. The first ride, the targets that I had for watts per kilogram, it was difficult for me to hit those targets looking at the watts per kilogram in the rider list for some reason. I mean, I think, again, the fact that we're a smaller group here, more evenly matched, helped as well. So I think if I were looking at the watts per kilogram in the rider list, I could have been more consistent in this ride than I was on the first one as well. But I like having the watts per kilogram up there. Basically, when I was in front, my eyes were mainly pinned to that watts per kilogram target. So here to start, we were starting around 3. I think the target here was around 3.4. So you can see me doing really well, going from around 3.3 to 3.5. Pretty consistent. I was also keeping an eye on the riders just to make sure that no one was in trouble, but I didn't need to do that as much because the coach Corridor was always giving instructions to the riders to make sure that we were closing gaps, so it was easy to focus on the watts when it was your turn to pull at the front. So that was really helpful. I was still keeping an eye, but it was really helpful, and I think we did a really good job keeping close. So you can see me here switching back to first person view to give it another shot, and I don't think I stay in it long. Again, the first pull for me felt pretty good. The targets for us were more, for the three of us again, because we're in a different category, we're more aggressive than they were in the first race. So I was a little apprehensive about the targets that coach was telling us to hit, but it worked out well. As always, he monitored the situation well and kept us under control, but still pushing hard. So here I'm on the back, having taken my turn on the front. I found it, I was worried about moving to the back and then having to like surge to keep with the rider in front, but that wasn't the case mostly or completely throughout the whole thing, so that my mind was eased at the first couple of times that I did it, that I was able to do it consistently enough. So this course is the Wandering Flats in the Makuri world. It's 25.1 kilometers, 145 meters elevation gain. Most of that elevation comes at the end when you climb up towards the castle. So it's mainly flat up until the end. I watched another team time trial do this ride, so I was aware of the route profile mostly. I also looked at the Zwift Insider description of it. My nutrition for this ride was 2 scoops of the Infinite 90-gram premium fructose blend, 2 scoops of that powdered blend in 20 ounces of cold water. I took that during the warm-up, 15 minutes, around 15 minutes before. And then during the ride, I just had a bottle of water. Judging from the other team that I watched race, I kind of knew about how long of a ride we were in for, so that was useful as well to have an idea of the duration. So here I am in second position, waiting to take my turn on the front. There were a couple of times that I needed to get a little closer to the rider in front. One thing we were talking about I should say stay a little closer to the rider in front. Get closer and stay closer. One thing we were talking about a lot, Discord, you can see here, is being pushed out to the right and not right behind the rider. We were surmising that potentially that might happen if the rider behind is pushing up too close and pushing the rider in front out of the draft. We're not exactly sure, but that was our our assumption. So later in the ride, we tried to correct that, like the last quarter of the ride probably is when we started to talk about that. So here I go, taking my turn on front. Here, the target, let's see, the target here might be 3.5 or 3.6. I'll have to see kind of where I averaged to remember what the target was here. So I'm staying pretty consistent there around 3.8, but I think, so here I am at 3.6. I think the target here was 3.6, if I'm not mistaken. So again, this, I should go back and actually watch the video of the first ride to see how, in comparison, how my watts jumped around in the target range. Like this, you know, 0.2 watts per kilogram plus or minus is really good for me, right? This, for me, represents very improved consistency over that first ride. I'm almost sure. Positive that that's the case, but I'll go back and look. But I was able to stay pretty consistent. And here, 10 minutes in, I was feeling really good, really controlled. I wasn't in distress here. I actually wasn't exactly sure how long the pools were going to be. I was trusting the coach. I knew he had he knows our team really well, so I was just going to be on the front for as long and do what I was instructed for as long as I could. If ever we were in trouble, we just needed to call out and we'd adjust as needed. Towards the end, obviously, it gets a little hard, but for most of the ride, I wasn't ever in danger of not meeting the targets. And as I said, actually was able to be pretty consistent within the ranges. One thing I will say is that I started out in relatively high cadence for my pools, which I knew when it got further in the ride and I was to put out higher watts that I would need to shift down to a harder gear, just to make sure I gathered that consistency. I don't know if I actually did that, considering I'm under 90 RPM here. I don't know if I did that at this point. I think I'm potentially still here at the same gear that I was when I started. Another thing that's improved from the first team time trial, was surging past riders out of place. Again, there's only 3 of us, so it's a different ball game here, but there were only a couple of times where I pushed up like too close or past the rider in front, which was which I was happy to see. Like right here, okay, so here I'm getting in front of the rider, taking the turn. So I think here we're starting to ramp up the watts a little bit. Once I get to, there was a time when staying behind in second position was putting me up in zone 5. Like for a lot of the time, I was concerned there. And I think once I started seeing that, I'm not sure if that's where this was or not, I decided I would switch down to a harder gear. Yeah, see, you can see me here at over 100 RPM, so I'm in an easier gear here, and really like further away. Like this gap is terrible here, right? So further away from the rider than I should be. So I think pretty soon we'll probably be able to see that cadence drop while the power stays on, which will represent me switching to a harder gear. I think that happens sometime soon. And actually, I think this might be it here, right? So now I'm in the lower 90s at the sort of the same wattage. So I think here is where I switch to that harder gear, just to get that consistency and try to stay with the rider. So this is an interesting time too, I believe. If this team comes up with us, yeah, so this was interesting. This team comes up, and I know the etiquette, right? You're supposed to, if a team comes past you, you're supposed to give them room to go past. It just so happened that they came up at a time when we were increasing our targets, right? So we ended up staying with them longer than we should. I understand that we probably should have dropped back here sooner, but we were actually, you can see us here, our targets are taking us past them. So I was hopeful that we would just all go past. And here I go on the front, and I was hopeful that my turn would take us all the way past them. But as it turns out, they stay with us, and we weren't ever able to like drop from them. So the coach had given us the instructions to drop. You can see one of their riders there, rightly so, saying that, you know, we should drop back. But again, my assumption was that since my turn was taking us past them, that we would go past them. So here you can see me dropping off the watts, and we're going to give them sort of a wide berth here before we get back on our turn. You know, apologies to that team. Yeah, we meant no ill will, but I was assuming since we, you know, personally, since we went past them, that we wouldn't have to drop back. But here we go. We give them a bunch of space, and you can see me getting back on the power here. I forget what the target is going to be here, probably between 3.6 and 3.8 once we get back on the power. So here we go with 8 kilometers to go, 24 and a half minutes in. Here I am on the front. I believe this pool was supposed to be around 3.7 or 3.8. So here I am trying to settle into where I can find those watts. Again, at this point, felt relatively controlled. I knew that the climb was looming. You can see on the mini map there to the top right that there's a bit of an incline coming. So we started talking about the climb to come at this point, and for me it was my charge was to be in the back and just hang on, basically. Don't let go, follow the wheels up. So here I am letting off of my turn so that the coach could come through, and I'll go to the back, and this is where I'll be until we get over the climb. So here we go, starting the climb. It's not a long climb, it's not a steep climb, but in my mind, I'm mentally gearing up and just preparing to give it my all. Again, I was feeling relatively strong at this point. And to start the climb, I didn't feel in trouble. I felt controlled. I think coach would have liked me to have been a little closer at points on the climb, but I didn't want to risk like trying to include draft tactics up the climb as well as staying attached, relatively close. So I chose to just make sure I was in my watts, stay as close as I could, but not necessarily like maximize my distance to the rider in front like we were on the flats. I needed to make sure I just made it with the group up the climb. And so that was what was going through my head here as some steeper parts of the climb are coming. So here, as I get back into second position, this turn on the front by McNaughton in front of me was a hero turn, I think. This was a great job by him. This is a long pull that he did up the climb. The coach was giving encouragement the whole way through. This was a really, here I go, going in front of him a little bit, which was a mistake, but this was a really great pull by him. So kudos to him for getting us through this section, and to the coach for getting us up the first part of the climb there. I knew after this that my turn would be coming, so I'm also gearing up for my turn on the front, trying to stay as close as I can, as controlled as I can, keep contact, and then if I'm able to make it over the climb, which it seems like I am, and able to take my turn, then I just have to mentally prepare for my turn as we approach the end here. 31 minutes in, 4.5 kilometers left to go. So there we go. That's or you'll see here that's that turn done. That was a long pull up the climb and past the climb as well. So here I am with my turn on the front, and I'm just trying to make sure that, so these watts here are going to be higher than they've been before. So here I am making sure to keep an eye on everyone. Again, the coach was doing a fantastic job with making sure everyone stayed attached, but this is coming to the end here. We needed to bite down and really go. I think here the target was 3.8 to 4, if I'm not mistaken. So especially with McNaughton behind me, having done that pull, for him to stay behind in second position here was also very, very admirable as we make our way towards the end here. So here we go, half a kilometer to go. I do start to waffle a little bit on my target watts towards the end here. I think Dan Corridor is going to come through in just a moment as we approach the end, and here he goes. This was, again, I was really happy with how the team did here, for us all to finish at the same time in the prescribed watts. This was a really, really good and encouraging effort. I look forward to having more of the team ride. There's that team ahead that we we encroached on. We just almost caught them up, actually. Really happy with the results here. 3.3 watt average. I'm aware of how much power and how quick other teams get through these rides, and it is super impressive. But this also was impressive, I think, for our team, and I'm really, really happy with this ride. Again, shouts out to the team, to the coach as always. Much appreciated. Looking forward to improving more, riding more with the team as we get to know each other and understand each other's habits and idiosyncrasies, and gel more as a team and be able to continue riding together. I appreciate you all watching. If you like the video, consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribing if you'd like to get notified. I appreciate it. I hope you all stay healthy, stay fit, and I will talk to you later.